Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming out tonight on unseasonably cold November 11th. And happy Veterans Day. World War I has officially been over for 96 years. And that's a bit of history that you can learn in school, but one of the things that you don't learn in school is the whole business of, one, you can actually, for one, it takes effort, and that not a whole lot of people can do the whole business of making video games, but then some people actually do it for a living. And that we, of all places, we live here in Austin, and yet there are some people that don't realize that this has been happening for nigh on 30 years or so. In this place, and that there is a history that we often kind of disconnect with. It is as a process of studios opening and closing, people moving around, people moving to California, people moving back. The market changing wildly, sometimes on a dime, and so the whole notion about how this gets done kind of gets lost. But there are some lessons that maybe actually travel throughout time, so we actually have our panel, and so I'll just go around and introduce them. But just to start things off, we actually have more than 100 years of video game leadership experience at this table, and these 5 people here. A century. Yeah. It's probably higher. I mean, granted, the person to my right here, I think your original credit is 1979. Was it 7? Well, that's when you started it, but I think it shipped in 79, didn't it? Well, did you have one before Dungeon of Doom? 78. I am 2 years older than that.
Stop that!
So I'm stacking my deck very on, but yes, the person to my right, Mr. Gordon Walton, go ahead and just say whatever you want to about yourself. As I primed you.
Okay. Happy to be here. I'll be grumpy, I promise. What else?
Oh, it's just, I could say more, but whatever you feel like doing.
No, I'm done.
Okay. Look him up on Lobby Games, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, how many years have you been in, Gordon?
37.
Okay, so 37. I just passed 24 years. Okay.
Start doing the math, everyone.
Yeah, start doing the math.
Mr. Mike McShaffry.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mike. I'm Mr. Mike. I'm a typist. Actually, progress bar. Yeah, progress bars. They mean something different. I started at Origin in 1990 and was graduated in 97 and then done a bunch of crazy stuff after that. And for some odd reason, I've stayed in Austin the entire time. I've never moved away.
Yeah.
So, really cool.
I am Sheri. I started at Origin in 1989. I have not stayed in Austin most of my time.
Yeah.
I actually went to Albuquerque, New Mexico for a few years, but then I came here.
Yeah.
Wow, you want me to be loud?
Yes, there you go. I don't have to do anything. No timidity amongst the grumpy old devs here.
So I started in '89 at Origin Systems. I've spent most of my career in Austin, but I did spend 3 years in Albuquerque, New Mexico, working on some state arcade games and starting a division of one of those games called More Interactive. And I'm back here, so that's me.
Use that last one again.
Alright, so let's see, I started in, I guess, end of 1991.
Say your name, won't you, please?
Oh, Kevin Gliner. So I started at the end of 91 in the Bay Area, working for a guy named Chris Crawford, who, I don't know, well, actually this one probably remembers, but a lot of people these days don't. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that might mean they wouldn't be quite as sensitive.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So I started in 91, and I've done 3 stints in Austin, and 3 different startups that have all had either a part of their life here, and I've mostly done, I guess, like studio management and a lot of game design. So, and I'm back in Austin for the 3rd time and working on the next thing.
Okay, my name is Billy Cain. I've been in the game industry since '92. I guess that makes me the youngest of this group, if you can believe it. Let's see, I also started at Origin. Had a great time, met a lot of amazing people. It was probably the best time of my life, super smart. It just blew my mind. We were all too dumb to know that we didn't know what the hell we were doing, and we just did it anyway. And I guess since Origin, I've started 3 different studios. I'm currently working at Meta3D's biz dev director, so if any of you guys need somebody that knows what the hell they're doing, we can get it done. Sales pitch 101.
So one thing to point out is that 4 of the 5 people on this panel all worked at one company known as Origin Systems, which once upon a time it was hard to find someone who was making games that didn't work for Origin.
So I'll just comment. I worked at Origin Systems for 1 day.
Well, you did? Okay. Well, there you go.
That's the story I can't tell.
Yeah, okay. Unofficial. Notorious. But as I was pointing out earlier, Kevin had a company in the mid-90s that started as Cinematronics, but then got bought by Maxis at a point when Maxis was not owned by EA. So there was a time when there was a subsidiary of Maxis in Austin at a point when Origin was owned by EA, but Maxis was not by EA. Mind blowing, yes. In any case, I have a cheat sheet over here. We will have an intermission at some point for rebeering and using facilities, but I'm just going to go down the panel and really, I may call on you for any particular topics, and we'll just start with the obvious. Since, Mr. Mike, since you brought it up, why are you still doing this?
Well, it's not because of the money, I tell you that. This is my boss, actually.
Yeah.
Is it easy? Right, yeah, that's because it's so easy. Yeah, what she said. You know, I actually get asked this question all the time. And it really isn't the money, you know, because as a programmer, I could go to some boring job like PayPal or something and literally double my salary tomorrow if I could. And as neat as that might be, the thing that I wouldn't get by doing that is that I would not get to work with artists, designers, QA, animators, you know, whatever he does.
Someone's got to be in charge of this.
I mean, these are creative, wonderful, beautiful people, and you don't get that. You don't get that, I think, anywhere else. You know, maybe the movie industry, but I think games is where it's at, and it makes me happy. So there it is.
All right. Anyone else pick up the mic? Add to that. At one point, I didn't know that Sheri at one point pointed out she went and surveyed a lot of her peers that basically gave the same question, and some of them were things like, I think Warren Spector's was, you imply there was a choice. It's like there's nothing else you can do. So the idea that, like Billy said, there was once upon a time that really you're kind of learning as you go, the whole business of there being a business around it. And it's one thing that's like a lot of things, it's easy to take for granted now. Did you have something to that?
Yeah. I think most of the people that do this can't go sing. Because what Mike just talked about is going sing.
That's right.
You can actually, you know, go to work and make a lot of money and not worry about work when you're at home. And yes, you might have to put up with some people and yada yada, but you know, you might have jobs or job security and long last. So I think that, you know, most of the people who quit the business actually go sane, in my view. Because we're all just a little twisted, or we wouldn't be doing this. You know, there's something that we have to do in this, or why would you do it? It's too hard. It takes too much effort.
Not neurotypical, maybe a term.
I've actually left the industry twice, and each time it lasted about 6 months, and I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it. I actually miss the people. It really is, as Mike was saying, it's the people. I work with the most creatively brilliant people. I couldn't leave it. Like I said, I've left twice, thinking I've had it. This is insane. I can't do this anymore. I can make more money in an insane world, and I can't stay out. I come back.
See, I think that you hit part of it, but I think that it's not that the people are all totally brilliant. It's that they care. You go work for a lot of places. People don't show up to work because they care about work. They come to work so the things that they care about they can do after work. So they're actually showing up incredibly soulless and just, I'll put in my day's work and then I'm gone and then I'm going to go live my real life. And for most of us, our work is at some level our life. Expressing yourself is your life. The second part that you miss is not just that, it's the pacing. If you go and work outside the industry, the first thing you notice is things don't move very fast. Things move very slowly. And if you get used to the pace, you're screwed because you're gonna, it'll always feel like something's wrong every day that you come to work.
I don't know about that, Gordon. I think that for some of the projects we've been on in the past, things move really, really slow.
Yeah, that's why they suck, right?
Yeah.
When it was slow, it sucked.
All right, well, let's go a little bit more esoteric. This might actually be. What's going on? There we go. Yeah. So I talked to a lot of people, and they are focused so closely on being what a game developer is and what it means to be that. What is your definition of being a game developer? What did it start as, and has that changed over time? Did you ever really think about it while you were doing it?
There was no game developer thing when we started. I mean, there was no game development industry when most of us started. There was no job of game developer. We were just doing crazy stuff, and people were paying us, and we thought it was cool that they kept paying us to do crazy stuff. But I mean, there was no industry really. I mean, there was a handful of companies spread across the country and some overseas, but there wasn't really an industry or a career of game development. There just wasn't.
Maybe I can rephrase it, but so now we have this weird phenomenon where within the past 7 years, we've got this, it's become easier than it's ever been to just make a game. The market opportunities have exploded and turned inward in many ways. The platforms are all over the place. You don't actually have to have a physical copy anymore. That's quite a bit of a change. And so getting it out there is potentially limitless and yet limiting in certain ways. And we're seeing a lot of people that are motivated by actually creating something. They don't have the idea of like a business, like you said, getting paid for it. That's the hard part. And it seems like that's the lesson that they don't learn, or if they do learn it, it kind of seems by rote. So that's kind of what I was trying to get at.
I think that's actually right on the mark. I mean, game development is now something that is almost a consumer level thing. Mm-hmm. You can go home, you can download Unity, you and your buddies can build a game over the weekends, right? You can build a poor one, right? And that's the real problem, right? When 5 or 6 years ago, I was working at Redfly Studio, and we were doing games for the Wii, and we were bitterly complaining about how difficult it was for us to get even a dev kit for PS3 or Xbox 360 or something like that. Now, the interesting thing about that was it was difficult to break into that market. Not everybody could do it. There was a special club, and we complained about it all the time. But guess what? Once you got into that club, there was a pretty good chance you could actually make a living doing that, making those games. Now that has been completely democratized, everybody can do it. It's difficult to make a living, and that is a real problem. And until that's solved, what you're going to see, what the market is going to see, is a consistent level of crap, come across their screens. So hopefully it gets fixed. I'm not sure when it will, but that is the biggest challenge our industry faces right now.
Yeah. I don't actually think that's ever going to go away. I think from a consumer standpoint, it's fantastic because you're going to see, a tremendous amount of crap. But what's happening is all those people who, were put off by the technical barriers or the distribution barriers or any of those other things that stand in the way between, that content creator and the consumer. So many of those have dropped, and a lot of people can now get over that and get through and do something truly amazing. They could never do that before. So yeah, maybe 100 times more crap than we had last time, but or 1,000. But the good stuff, 10x, right? So we're getting more of that as well. And I think
So I think that there was plenty of crap before, you just never saw it. That's the only difference. Now you can't,
I'm gonna jump on
through it.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump on that, dude. The Atari 2600 was killed by garbage.
Yep.
It was killed by garbage, and Nintendo almost fell prey to the same thing with the NES. They wound up with that Nintendo seal of quality to prove that their titles were better or whatever. But garbage kills platforms, you know, or it always has. And now we have this really bizarre situation where everybody has distribution, and the problem tends to not be. I don't think it's about game development. I think it's about discovery. How do you find the good stuff, right? And so we can complain about it all we want as game developers, whether we can make money or not, because you know that's important to our families. But what really matters is whether the consumer can find it. If the consumer can find good stuff, that's what really makes a difference. You know, YouTube has finally done a pretty good job of getting the good stuff out there. They figured out how to, you know, rate things. You can look at numbers or whatever. Maybe it's not perfect, but most of the stuff on YouTube is garbage. But there's still a lot of good stuff out there. So I'm hoping that the consumer can drive this if we can find a way to get them to discover the things that they like. I don't know what the answer is. I think there's a lot of people working on it, and I don't think they figured it out. But it's going to be consumer driven.
Yeah, remember when there was actually, you could at least count on a game having a lifespan? Like there would be a time when you would just stop being able to play it. That doesn't happen anymore. Like you could pretty much play any game indefinitely if you want to. Like even the really old games, you can like get a ROM. Granted, that's kind of gray market. Don't really want to encourage that amongst professional game developers, but even like some of the old games that are coming back.
People have to be able to play these games.
Yeah, right.
They have. If your company isn't here and it's not monetizing on that game has to be free. You can call me nuts or whatever, but I mean it's like there are games that I made. The company doesn't even exist anymore. Nobody is making money off of that. It should be able to be out there. It's better for everybody to be able to play those old games. I mean, the fact that you've got a PS3 that can, a PlayStation portable that can be like totally jailbroken. You can play every SNES and Genesis and whatever game in the world. Now you've got archive.org where you can download every damn thing that there's ever been.
Yeah,
it's like,
that just came out.
oh my God, the stuff that's up there is crazy. Anyway, that stuff should be free. It has to be. If you're not monetizing on, what's the point?
I'll give Kevin's company some of the stuff that was coming out of Maxis South back in the day. I mean, like Marble Drop, that would make an excellent little, Vita title. If someone was to crack into the Maxis IP vault and grab
Well,
it.
and it's not really the Maxis IP vault; it's the EA dungeon somewhere. Because we actually went through this recently with not so much. I mean, a couple of years ago, someone was asking for the pinball game, the one that shipped with Windows, and that's gone through so many hands and transitions. And Microsoft has some rights, and EA has some rights, and just trying to get. We're like, look, we'd love to put that out there. I've got the source around somewhere, but I can't. Right?
Yeah, such as a re-release of System Shock 2 brought to you by Star Insurance. I don't know why that happened, but yeah.
Well, and it's too bad because it's our history. And we, as an industry, we lose our history because we can't get back and play those games and look at them and see. We've got generations. We got people sitting here probably that have no idea what games that we started on look like at all, and that's really sad. I mean, even in the movies, you can go back and look at very, very old vintage films and learn from them. And as an industry, we don't do that because of this, because the games are locked away where we can't get to them and we can't see them.
Almost everything has a playthrough on YouTube at this point, even the old stuff. It's
there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's there.
To quote Billy, it's crazy.
My wife Robin just downloaded Crusader, and I was like, really happy about that. Yeah, taking that flamethrower through Origins office building was super cool.
It was free to download from Origin.
Yeah, the idea that once upon an Origin was a company, and now it's EA's Steam competitor. Let's track back to one word that I said earlier about leadership. One of the things Billy intimated is that the whole idea about someone needs to be in charge, someone is going to pretend to be in charge, and someone is regarded as being in charge. What is the role of leadership then? And is it the same, or has that changed among game development projects?
What's the goal?
Yeah, well, let's think about who's in charge. If it's good or bad, what does that do to the whole project?
So I don't think leadership has changed at all in terms of problems we run into and everything else. We've seen a remarkable number of new processes and management techniques and organizational structures. And I don't even know anymore. It still boils down to the people. I don't care what process you're trying to put in place. If you've got the right people and you're able to put them, they'll work just with whatever you got. That said, some of the projects and roles and things like that I've seen in recent years, recent being, I don't know, the last 10 years, have the permutation of responsibilities is striking. And I think there's sometimes a confusion over who's actually responsible for what and where that leadership rests. Usually if there's someone there who just simply takes charge, that'll be great. That's usually what always happens. But a lot of times you have a lot of confusion on what people's roles are and how they contribute to that guiding that project forward.
One of the projects that I was really happy to be a part of was Star Wars Force Unleashed 2 for the Wii at the Wii. And I actually was working kind of on another project that was kind of on fire. You know, while two people came to the lead of that project, friends of mine, Dustin Dobson and James Cain. So James was more of the creative lead behind that project, and so it was kind of his blue sky vision of like, here's where we're going to take this project. It's going to be awesome, amazing, and really cool. And Dustin Dobson was here's how we're going to build it, right? Here's how we're going as a team, and here's how much it's going to cost, and all that stuff. And in my opinion, if you have those two roles defined on your team, and you have a clear vision, and the clear vision on how to build it, and everybody's happily, going along with these two ideas, you're going to have a great time and a great project. If either one of those roles is somehow compromised, it's going to be fueled with a nightmare machine.
I mean, you described two very important roles, but is it common to have them in the same person?
It is never a good idea to have them in the same person. We've all been on projects like that.
I'm totally going to echo what Mike says. If you have somebody that knows where you're going and somebody that knows how you're going to get there, that makes everything easier. It doesn't make it perfect, it just makes it easier.
You have strategy and tactical.
Right.
Big blue sky vision.
I think I'm going to disagree a little bit. I think there's sort of a rare breed of producer that used to exist. It's very hard to come by that could do all of that. I think in our modern world, we see that very often. I think the producers have gone. Well, the problem with the producer position, to the extent it even exists anymore, it's now split more product management and project management, things like that. But the problem with the role historically, and even more so now, is that that's where everybody goes who can't do anything else. And it means that all the people who are really, really good at that are really, really hard to find. They're very, very, very scarce. If you can find them, why not? Because they can do pretty much everything.
I think though that the palette of gaming is so broad now that the beauty of the idea that you can make a game with one person means that you almost need that sense. And shipping games is hard, right? So somebody has to decide it's going to be done. Because it's easy to decide that you can make it better. It's hard to decide that you can make it done, right? And know when to say, okay, it's time to get it out the door. And I think that what we see on, the other problem we were talking about, like lots of crap, some of it is ill, form, like should have never happened, but everyone, the idea that somebody can actually finish a game and ship it is a big deal, even if it's a crap game. So I think that, who's a game developer was one of your original questions that I don't think we ever answered. It's people who make games. That's who a game developer is. If you make games, you're a game developer. If you talk about making games, you might not be a game developer. But if you're actually making games that actually ship, then you're a game developer.
It's interesting that we kind of harken back to if you can actually get something done, right? Because this is what it was like in the old days. When you had your Atari and your TRS-80 or whatever it was that you were actually coding on at the time, and you had to worry about every little thing you were putting in a little plastic baggie. I mean, I saw those things in stores. I mean, I'm sure enough people here actually know what I'm talking about when it was a one-man shop. When you're getting back to the era where you can do that, it's not likely you'll be successful, but it can happen. So maybe the point of having it be one person is still possible, but I think it's still just as rare. You're going to find that person that can really make it happen.
Okay. Well, like we said, we do have people that can basically do it by themselves, and probably some that it's great that they can do it by themselves because you never want to hire them. But let's think about like
Why
let's-
hire 'em?
yeah. Well, again, they're doing about the games they want to make. But let's think about a team then. When do you know? And what's the importance of? Okay. When do you know when things are going bad with your team? The dynamics are going out of whack.
No, I got it.
There you go. And at some point, it's like,
Oh yeah. All you have to do is you walk around and you see all the closed doors. Yeah. Something really bad is happening.
Sure, you see, nobody's talking to
Doors are
anyone.
open,
Nobody's talking
and
to
everybody's
anybody.
and everybody's talking. Everybody's talking about the game. You see the game up and running on the screen every now and then, and there's little groups of people, and there's tons of check-ins in your source code repository. Yeah, but if you see a bunch of closed doors and nobody's made a check-in in a week, you are screwed.
If nobody is playing your game that you're making, that's another one. That means they're not bought in, they don't believe in it, they don't like it. If they're not playing the game they're making, you've got a problem.
They're all just, killing time on Hearthstone. I'm not playing the game yet. All right. Well, let's see. Keep going to my cheat sheet. Is everyone doing all right with this? Is this fun? Okay. I'm seeing a lot of race thumbs here. So let's make it more esoteric. Why Austin? And some of you have gone away and come back, but you're here now. What is it great about Austin as far as making games here?
Alamo Draft House.
Do they pay you for that?
It's like you can watch a movie and drink beer and eat pizza.
And Mister Tramps.
Oh yeah, Mister Tramps!
Yeah. I didn't have to pay for any of it. It's pretty rad. So, so long as you all pay your tabs and don't start a fight, we're pretty good. So,
And tip your waitress.
I think that's easy, right? Why Austin? Because Austin celebrates the weird. We can't, we are all kind of little hothouse orchids at some level. You put us in Dallas, people are going to throw beer cans at you. Put you in Chicago, they're going to look at you funny, right? You go to Cincinnati, they're going to go, you do what? Here, it's normal to be odd. So I think the tolerance for difference is what makes Austin work, period, in the story. And in fact, it's what made San Francisco work too. When you look at where our industry thrives. So when I started, well, not when I started, but 15 years into the business, there was at least 12 to 15 places you could make games in the U.S. where there were many companies, lots of companies. Today, there's really 4. There's Seattle, L.A., San Francisco, and here. Yes, there's a little bit in Maryland. Yes, and that's a vestigial of what there once was. There's a little bit in the Triangle. Yeah. There's a little bit left in Chicago. But when I worked in Chicago in the early '90s, when these guys were at Origin, there were 35 major console companies in Chicago. 35 major companies, not little pissant companies like we have here, like serious companies doing serious bucks. And they're gone now. There's a couple of companies left in Chicago. And I think the reason is all environment. The environment for creative people exists here in a way that doesn't exist in other places. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
You want to applaud to that one? That's pretty good. I can feel it in the air. Someone want to clap for that one. There you go.
So I think I wholeheartedly agree with Gordon. I've worked in all 4 of those places, and I think it's interesting to compare Austin to, say, Seattle or LA or the Bay Area. Bay Area in particular, I don't know if anyone here has worked out there recently. That is a bubble. I mean, not in the stock market sense. It is a sealed cocoon of conversation, and it feeds on itself, and it's very inwardly focused, and there's no one aware of anything else going on. And I think Austin has a much more open, sort of friendly kind of atmosphere compared to that. We obviously have we feel smaller, we feel more connected to the community here. There's a massive community in the Bay Area, but again, it's very inwardly focused and not aware of the rest of the planet. And I think other places like LA get kind of lost with the rest of what's going on in LA, particularly with the movie industry. And actually, Seattle, I'd say, comes closest to Austin in terms of being an interesting sort of top-tier place to work for game development and a great place to kind of have a small company too.
I think I'm going to steal Jennifer Bullard's anecdote about how she was in California for a while before she moved to Texas, and how there's the culture that she described it of a whole lot of people. She was in LA, of people who won't even look you in the eye unless they can be assured ahead of time whether they can do anything for you. You know, they'll look you in the eyes like, oh, you can't actually benefit me in my career or anything, so they won't even treat you like a person, and you don't see get that. And so the point, her whole talk about going through the line, her and her husband getting move-in stuff at HEB and being accosted by a lady who was in line with her and saying, oh, y'all just moved here? And she literally didn't know how to react. Like, this is what 6 years does to Jennifer Bullard. Like, anyone saying that Jennifer Bullard can't actually react to anything? That's what. But okay, my point being, here in Austin, somehow we've learned not to be jerks to each other. That it will come around.
We were shocked. So we moved from Santa Cruz in California in 1995 to Austin, brought our company down here, and it didn't even make sense. I thought people were completely nuts. You know, they were so nice to us.
Still do, right?
So what's that?
Still do?
Oh yeah. I mean, no, I don't think people are. Oh, no, I'm one of them. I mean, it's the thing. I'm the one saying, hey, come on over, and let me introduce you to everybody I know. You know, that's Austin compared to the Bay Area, where it's kind of like, get out of the fast lane.
Well, let's take another comparison to California. No, I think our stream went out. I don't know why. Hopefully, Alfredo will come back and fix it. But in any case, one thing that California has is a venture capital culture. I mean, there's money in Texas, but you may not know how to get at it. So, how exactly is that challenge being addressed? Since you're still here in Austin, with its weird culture, and we're not jerks to each other, but can we get money?
Gordon's gonna have more recent experience with this, but my answer is no.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Hell no.
Hey Gordon, before you give the real answer, let me give a tiny anecdote. So somewhere in the mid-90s, we were worried about why it was that publishers weren't moving here. And that kind of rolled over, obviously, to the 2000s. And there were basically two answers that I've heard. Number one, there were no nonstop flights to Japan from Austin. And the second was the reason for that being the problem, which was that executives from Japan did not want to spend an extra day flying from where they stopped in California to here. And of course, there's the money issue that comes from the edges too. But surprisingly, the flight from Austin, the lack of a flight from Austin to Japan was an enormous issue. So Gordon gives the real answer.
Maybe 2 words.
Can you get money in Texas?
Yes. It's really damn hard. But the truth is that it's hard to get money for entertainment, period. End of story. So, we blame it on the fact we're in Austin, but frankly, getting any kind of entertainment thing funded by anybody, no matter where you are, is pretty damn difficult. You hear about and the VC stuff comes in waves. 2 or 3 years ago, VCs did maybe 15 or 20 high-profile deals with for content, and now most of them are in the process of getting completely burned by that because 95% of all our games fail. Even if they're well constructed and experienced teams, well-funded experienced teams can have a dog just as well as somebody who doesn't have all those things. So VC funding for games has maybe had 3 peaks in the last 30 years that I'm aware of actual content, not of platforms, not of tool sets, not of things like that. You can get money for all that, but you can't get any money for games 99.9% of the time. So where do you get money for that? You mostly are going to get it, from people who care about it. Either friends or family, they care about you or they care about games. And those people are damn hard to find that have money. Because if you have money, you pretty much aren't playing games. You're probably trying to get more money. Which is a game all in itself. What Billy was speaking to was true in that particular place and time. The money overseas was coming out of Japan. Today, the money overseas is coming out of China. In between, the money came out of Korea, right? So there's been multiple waves of foreign investment in the games segment. And right now, that segment, the hot people with the most free cash are China. And yeah, they don't like not going to the coast because it's a single flight. And for many years, there weren't that many direct flights to Austin. The reason that no publisher wanted to either have a studio here or move here was they couldn't even get from the West Coast to Austin directly. Right? Just that extra hour of doing the changeover was a deal killer for most publishers. So now we got a bunch of direct flights. Now we have fewer of them. This kind of comes and goes with the overall economy. And the challenge of being in Austin. The problem with Austin is we got big after Dallas and Houston and San Antonio, all of which are top 10 cities in the U.S. and all of which had much bigger airports before we did, so we're screwed that way. So I think that we're playing to our strength. Our strength is the creative mixture that we have here, and that's still they're going to have to come where the talent is. As long as we're actually making the games that win, they'll be here, right? If we're just making pretty much what everybody else makes, then they're not going to be here so much.
So I think the question you want to ask though nowadays is, not so much, where, can you get money here or not? It's how much money do you need? Because the difference now between 10 years ago, 5 years ago even, is pretty dramatic. You talk about all the different barriers between content creator and content consumer, and most of those, with discovery is a big issue, but most of those are pretty much flat and gone. And so when you talk to, say, more traditional sources of money that we used to go to most of the time, wasn't VCs, it was publishers. Publishers had all the cash, and they had controlled distribution, right? Well, they controlled everything, right? Discovery. So nowadays, a publisher comes to you and you kind of wonder what they're bringing to the table. And so what's happened is, with the tools getting better and everything else, the cost of building the game and distributing it and commercializing it and everything is so much lower. The sources of money change, and now you can actually find sources that weren't even possible before because they're much smaller, smaller players. And you can, friends and family is even viable, whereas it wasn't quite so viable before. Or you just do it on your own. But again, the tools are phenomenal.
None of you talked about crowdfunding.
Yeah, another source, sure.
Yeah,
All of it, that's the point.
I am officially out of ideas. Or my list is, I'm going to open it up to the speaker, and I'll be Geraldo Rivera now.
I'm not sure if I'm going to actually ask this the right way, but going off of what you were saying, we're talking about how our market currently is having a hard time keeping up with the market that actually is selling games, and we're looking at worldwide commercialization of things like Call of Duty, which at ACC I'm saying that's really a great polished piece of game and they're making money, they're selling. And then we got titles like Darksiders and Darksiders 2 that are just solid and they're fun and they're great and they're gorgeous and everybody wants them out there. What is it that's causing us to have this line of creativity being ignored that they're actually getting out there and think? And what can we do to strategize against that? To elevate ourselves into a much more solid market, if I could say that?
I don't know, $100 million marketing budget wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
So, think about this for a second. Think about setting expectations. So, one of the biggest mistakes almost everyone makes in game development when it comes to running it as a business, this is what I would call the second lesson of business and game development. The first lesson is existence, because as Gordon was saying earlier, there's a lot of stuff that if you're talking about making a game, you don't have a game yet, and just getting to existence is a huge barrier. But the second lesson is sustainability, and a lot of times, folks sit down and say, okay, I'm going to make this great game, it's going to be this big thing, and I have all these sort of grand dreams about what it can be, and to break even, I need, 5 million players, or or even need 100,000 players, or 50,000, or whatever that number is. And I think if folks really thought about the products they're working on, what's special about them, and scaled those expectations down, they can make products that are sustainable and they can support a very small company with a very small audience. And when you go that route, you can do all kinds of crazy niche things, and you don't need to be Call of Duty. You can be, just about anything. There are games made in Austin that are ridiculously tiny and the worst pieces of crap I've ever seen, but they have an audience. And that small audience is supporting those teams, and maybe 2 guys or 3 guys or whatever it is. So it's doable. I think people forget about that.
I'll do a bit. So I don't know what the situation is with the games that are making it or not making it, but I do know that a rule of thumb that used to be given that we would use would be whatever you spent on the game, you have to spend that much on marketing. And I'm pretty sure that the guys that are making small games finish their game and just think that Steam is going to sell them. You know, that does not work for the great majority. Hey, Russell. The great majority of people that are out there, it just doesn't. If you look at the postmortems, I guarantee the first one is always communication sucks, but I'm pretty sure down like 2, 3, or 4 is always we didn't have enough money for marketing. People don't think about that, so that's a cautionary tale for you.
Yeah, I was going to say that's absolutely it. It's the minute you start to have an idea for a game in your head, you better start planning and marketing for it. I cannot tell you how many times when I was working with Shell Games, which is a work for hire house, 3/4 of the way through production, coming up into looking at alpha, the client would come to us and say, "Okay, so when are you going to start? When should we start thinking about doing some marketing?" I'm like, "Dude, we're in alpha. You should have been marketing this a long time ago. We're just a dev house. We're not a marketing house." But they didn't think about it until they already had gamers, and by then it was way too late. And we had this happen in property after property where people just didn't start their marketing soon enough. So it's not only you have to have a big budget, but you have to have a plan and you have to start it early.
I've been that dev. Oh, Gord wants it. I've been that dev house before. When somebody comes to you with a $40,000 budget for a project, the first thing you want to ask them is, "Where's your $40,000 for marketing?" And then you realize, holy shit, that's going to cut my budget down to $20,000 because if they even decide that marketing is important. So that's a tough question to ask as a dev. But I mean, if you're doing this yourself, you got to think about it.
All creative people are romantics. And so, when we make a game, we think, and we thrive on the stories, because every once in a blue moon, literally once a year, maybe once every 2 years, there's a game that comes out, it's super awesome, and it actually does it completely virally. It works, right? Somebody makes something great, and people hear about it. I guarantee you, somewhere on that iTunes store, somewhere out there on the App Store, are hundreds of really great games that we'll never hear about. Why? No, who said doubted?
I did.
So there are, literally like hundreds of games per day put up. Hundreds of games a day going in there. Just by the law of averages, it can't all be crap. And every once in a while, one of those games surfaces, and comes out, and people go, "Wow, that's really cool." How come I didn't hear about that before? And we thrive on those stories because we're romantics. We forget that this is actually a cold, hard business of selling entertainment. We are competing for dollars and literally minutes is what we're really competing for. We're competing for attention in minutes. We're competing for life share out of people. And on that battlefield, that's a really tough battlefield because every other type of entertainment is competing against us, which means we have to kind of rot for some persons exactly what they want. And quite often we're making games for ourselves and not for those people. We hope that there's a lot of people like us. But in fact, everyone in here, if we were all wine drinkers, we're all gamers, right? So we're like connoisseurs at this moment, right? You play too many games to be like your audience. And in fact, the people that, if they're like you, that audience is not that big. It just isn't. It was a big hobby, is what our business was. It was a big hobby 10 or 15 years ago. That's all it was. We were celebrating. The first time a game went over 1 million, everybody was like, "Woohoo, we're big now." And then they went over 10 million. They go, "Whoa, we're super big." And then social games come along and get 100 million. Boom. Right? Just like that. Right? And we look at those social games. Okay, who in here, when they looked at their first social game, said, "That's the crappiest piece of shit I've ever seen in my entire life"?
Guess what? It wasn't for you.
And that game made a bunch. Whatever game that was, you probably made a shitload more money than the last 3 games you worked on. Yeah. Right? And that's because it actually did strum the emotional chords for somebody out there in quantity. And that's because we forgot all those other people. So I've been around long enough to watch game genres actually get so narrow that they disappear. Right? That they cater to a smaller and smaller, more elite audience until one day there's no entry-level audience for them and they go away. So as game makers, You got to be a romantic, and you also got to be a hard-nosed realist. Who are we going to sell this to? Are there enough of them? Can I find them? Because you can imagine in your head there are enough of them, but if you can't actually get out and reach them, then you're screwed.
And if you can't make a game for them, you still have to consider what they want in a game. And this is probably the number one thing I run into when I run into new designers that want to come into the industry is that they all come in and they all want to make another version of their favorite game. Or they say, we're going to make a game that we love, and that's fine, but as Gordon says, that may be a market that's only this big, so you have to be able to put your own love and passion and say, this is the games I like to play, and that's nice, but the games I'm going to make are the games for a particular audience, and identify that audience, and find out what entertainment need they have that you can fill.
Screw all that. Make the games you really want to make. I mean, we're at a point now where there's so much stuff coming out, and I'm so tired of seeing the same thing over and over and over again. I think, yeah, 99% chance you're going to fail. You should still go do it. You're not here for the money. You're here because you want to make stuff that you really enjoy. So do it. Be a romantic.
I think we're not romantics. I think we're gamblers. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
The other way of saying
Romantic gamblers.
yeah, subset of romantics, gamblers. Romantics with money. All right, I have to get this back to this one. Mike's is in high level, but
I got a whole list of questions. I'll just start with, do I ask the pandering question?
No.
No? Okay.
No, harass the crap out of them.
Harass them? All right. Harassment question number 1.
you're right, giving you the mic.
Time for a break? Cut his mic. All right. Yeah. So, Kevin, you actually mentioned that a lot of people in production generally get there because they don't have the skills to do very much else. So what I'm wondering is, from your perspective, actually, and I'll open this up to everybody, from your perspective, what is currently missing from production teams in general, and how can production teams actually improve? Because this is a team effort. I mean, you have great artists, you have great designers, but you gotta pull the whole thing together as a team. What's missing from production?
Okay, so actually, right, so I think there's a problem that's been sort of growing over the last 15, 20 years, certainly, well, as long as I've been in the industry, and I don't have a good solution for it, but the problem is the specialization problem. So we've gotten to a point now where we have so many people on, you've had these large projects come along, and you get to a point where there's 5 designers. I mean, the notion that there was even a single designer on a project in the 90s even was, crazy that someone was being paid to just do that, and seemed, what a slap ass, what are they doing? But the problem is you have specialization, and what we're seeing is, so I want to be fair, I'm actually, well, you have to understand that. I'm joking about it because I'm a game designer. I've got 15 published titles that I personally designed, and that's the attitude that I got from them, right? I find game design is the most important fucking job on the project.
Sheri, break it up.
My point.
Can y'all chill down now for a second?
Listen.
Yeah. So my point was that game design was something that people didn't respect enough back then to even grant it a full-time position, very rarely. And it was often invested in someone else. The point I want to make in general now, though, is that is about specialization. Specialization, what's happened is we've got people who come along who don't have a very broad skill set, and they've been, they grab 2 or 3 years of experience on something, or 5 years doing the exact same thing over and over again. Maybe it's just level design, or maybe it's just, they worked on, some narrow part on the technical side of the project. Whatever it is, they've now gained, say, 5 years of experience in the industry. Well, what 5 years of experience used to mean in the industry then and what it means now is very, very different. And these folks go to try and do something else, like someone who's been doing 5 years worth of game design, and they try and do something else that's design related, and they can't. They completely fail. And so what we're missing right now is a broader range of knowledge, of experience in terms of the jobs we do for the people who are coming along. And a lot of it's been driven by these large projects. I think the folks who are coming along on the indie side in particular, who are all flying solo and have to do everything still, like we used to have to do way back when, You know, I think they're learning, but they're not getting the exposure to a lot of those great skills, to a lot of other people in terms of learning that very fast. So they're just learning, you know, trial by fire, and that they're failing, you know, systematically. So, so the problem I think we have right now is this sort of case of specialization where you don't have this ability to, you know, function on a, you know, in another role, right? You're kind of even pigeonholed, and it's costing people. I'm dealing with doing some consulting for a very large company right now, and you know, very successful products. They're doing quite well, and they're bringing on some new people. And a lot of these guys, they can't. They're tripping over themselves. They don't know, and you kind of look there, and we're trying to figure out why. You know, they're bright, they're smart, they're eager, very ambitious, but they don't know, you know, what they're missing. They think that they've been doing stuff, and they just haven't been exposed to a broad set of things. And I think, you know, when we had smaller teams and like when people had to be a choice, I don't have a good solution for that.
So, anybody here play D&D? Okay, so I'm a multi-class character. I started as a programmer. Multi-class character. Started as a programmer, and then worked my way into management and failed horribly in both places. And then finally learned, you know, kind of how to do it, right? Which is typical, right? When you know, 4th level fighter and then magic user and you die a ton of times. So I actually worked into management and production, and I actually spent more time in production than I have as a programmer. All right, so what, 4 years ago, you know, found myself looking for a new position. And I thought, well, I'll just go into production. That's cool. I'll try that. There were no jobs. There were no jobs. Why? Because teams got really, really small. And when you have a team of 3 people and you're all sitting in one office and you're working on the same game, you don't really need a production person. And so there, you know, and also some tools that just run on your computer, you know, like Jira or any number of other, you know, sort of team, you know, collaboration tools actually make the process of collaborating on a project a whole lot easier, right? So what I think is honestly going to happen at some point is that the same thing is going to happen to games as what we saw before, right? You know, games are really, really kind of small and tiny right now. There's some really big ones on mobile, you know, all the Hearthstone or some of the other ones that we see. But as the consumer wants to have more deep content that require bigger budgets and bigger teams and more complicated things, they're going to require more coordination and bigger teams. And so the production role is probably going to, you know, come back a little bit, but maybe a little. You know, so guess what? I'm working for Gordon now as a programmer. He doesn't know that I'm not a very good one yet. Or that I'm trying to remember as fast as what, you know what? Oh, okay, he's figured it out. All right.
It's like an old game dev.
That's right. It's like, I'm a programmer. So yeah, I think it'll come in cycles. It really will. It should come in cycles as more money gets back into doing bigger games. You know, teams will get larger, and somebody will need to figure out a way to kind of keep all the balls in the air, you know, and keep the team, you know, kind of grounded and going in one direction. Because that's what I'm seeing right now with the small teams, is that they don't have any real structure, and they just kind of go in all separate directions as fast as they can, and that's always been a problem.
Yeah, and I think it's been a wave thing. I think because we've just come through a cycle where everybody was doing the big, and particularly in Austin, the big and unknown projects. And the reason you saw a guy who'd been a girl who'd been a level designer for 5 years is because the project was 5 years long. Because they got stuck doing level design 4 or 5 years, and they were good at level design, but they didn't have the opportunity to do a lot of things because the project was 5 years long. So I think we're seeing a cycle of those people now. I can tell you right now, in what I'm seeing in design is we're seeing a lot of call for a split between content and systems. And so we want systems designers, we want content designers. Now content designers are starting to fall more towards the writer end, which is really funny. That's where I started was as a writer. There were no designers. There was no title designer when I started. There were writers. And so now I'm seeing content designers that are sliding more towards being writers and systems designers.
So I'm seeing the kind of opposite trend, but it's the same thing. I am seeing the split, the content versus the system designer, and we need more systems designers, by the way. I think there's way too many content designers, and I'm a little bit worried, in fact, because I really think that in the last 10 years in particular, people don't even know what system design is anymore. A lot of designers I've talked to lately are basically just replicating old designs and then changing the content around, and they aren't even aware of of what's going on under the hood. I think we're actually, I hate to say it, Mike, I think that old
Don't tell me we're screwed.
No, I just, the small team thing is great. Someone that I think we're going to see more producer types emerge at that level. But what I'm seeing more is that as they get larger, is that the producer is vanishing and that role is being fragmented. You have project manager, and things like that. And we're losing sight in some cases. We're seeing more consensus design. They're seeing a lot of, again, people are copying designs more readily now and just sort of updating and tweaking them. And there hasn't been a need for someone to go in and guide something through. And I think that's unfortunate. I think it's going to burn everybody. But I think, I miss that producer, the one who really kind of hold it all together and drive it. But I think the larger, industry is getting rid of that role.
Did we answer your question?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna help answer the question too.
Well, let's see. It was yes, no. Did we answer your question yet?
I have not heard your answer.
Okay, so let Jennifer go because she's probably better.
Because I'm actually a 16-year producer in the game industry.
Yep.
That would be why. So the real problem is nobody ever fucking designed what a producer is. So nobody ever said, hey, here's the skill set for a producer. They just said, oh, you can't do anything else, be a producer. Yes, I have worked with people. I'm like, so what did you do before this? I was an actor. So you can act like a producer? Yes. Can you actually be one? Sure, because I can act like one. No. So yes, and I have been, like all the other horrible crap that goes with it, but I'm an actual producer and I'm actually trained in the skill sets of being a producer. So I can do product management, I can do project management, I can jump in on design if I need to, I can actually manage engineers. I've had people ask me where did I get my CS degree, and I laughed, because I haven't coded since basic in middle school. But I can manage an engineering staff, because that's what producers really do. So the skill set of a producer is to make sure that the product goes from point A, which is the brain of the designers, goes through the how does the art staff envision and build a visual set for it, how does the programming staff actually get things done and make sure that they don't hate the designers at the end of 48 hours, build a schedule that's sane, then of course go back to the designer and say, I'm really sorry but your baby's ugly and is overweight, can you please cut 40 pounds off, thanks. Yeah, that's my job. My job is to go, your baby is 30 pounds overweight. You haven't heard about my baby yet. It already is. We're just going to start there. So the producer gets to play the bad cop on one hand, but also goes and plays team defender. So when I go talk to upper level management, the other skill set is conflict resolution. That's a giant part of my day. And I go to the executive staff and I'm like, so you want the levels lighter today? Okay. But yesterday you wanted them darker. And then before that you wanted them lighter. Let me go solve your problem. And my problem solving skills are actually going to that person's office and finding out that in the morning, the sunlight hits the desktop computer and their monitor, which makes the game look different than it does in the afternoon when the sun goes to the other side of the building and now it's all dark.
These are real problems.
These are real problems, and that's what producers do. So we do a lot of critical thinking, and what we are problem solving is not zeros and ones. We problem solve humanity. We problem solve people. That's what we do. I look and I decode and debug the entire human people around me. So my skill set is not going, is it a 0 or a 1? Is it 0, 1, I'm pissed off, I've had a bad day, my wife is leaving me, or I am about to get married and I'm not focused on anything, that's my decoding process, is think of all of the human emotions, and my job is to figure out which one of those emotions is impacting the schedule. So a producer is someone who manages conflict, we manage humans, we have a good background, if you're smart, in sociology and psychology. You understand behavioral psychology quite a bit. I actually have an industrial psychology background. That's my actual degree, and that's why I'm actually pretty decent at all of this, because I understand humans and I understand how business is supposed to operate. So that is why producers suck for the most part. It's because none of them actually have a degree in that. They're like, I got my degree in, I'm going to pick something, basket weaving, and I wanted to get into game design, but then I found out basket weaving doesn't apply to game design, so I figured it would apply to something even more complex, which is human relations. And I'll give you this one last thing. There's a great old saying, when two people walk in and meet, it's actually 6 people in the room. Because it's how I perceive you, it's how I perceive myself, and it's how I perceive you perceiving me. and then you have the reverse of that. So 2 people having a conversation is actually like having 6 people in a conversation, and that is production is psychoanalyzing that and making sure that nobody hates each other. As an extrovert working in the world of introverts,
That job sounds really awful.
and I stay around for it. What the fuck's wrong with me, people?
Yeah, I totally echo everything that Jennifer says. And if you wanted my answer, it would be this. So when you said that somebody came in like an actor, you're going to act like you're, a producer. I actually came from the music industry before I got to the game industry, which is fascinating in lots of ways because in many ways, the business model of the music industry is totally like the game industry, which is that the artists never make any money. Because the publisher would lend you all this money to go do the recording, and then you would do the recording, and then maybe you'll make a little teeny tiny piece of it. Most of it goes to the record company, the record label, and all the other people, and then you get nothing. Well, that's kind of like the game industry. But anyway, so I moved from that, and I worked with a group of people that were very creative, that had to get something done on time. They really had their own ideas about doing things. They really just wanted to play guitar, play drums, or sing, or whatever, but we had to kind of force them into doing something, and had to force it to get done. We had to take a little teeny tiny amount of money and go make a record and all this kind of crap. And that turned out to be the same as the game industry. A lot of people, all they wanted to do was code or draw art or design in a room. You had to force them to get together. You had to force them to make that happen. It had to be done on time, had to be done on schedule, had to be done on a budget, had to make money. And for whatever crazy psycho issue that I had personally, that was really important to me. Getting things done to a high level of quality, on time, on budget. And that's what it was, selling t-shirts in my band and making a recording, and it flipped right over into the game industry. So when I first showed up, the first thing I realized was that no one wanted to manage. No one gave a shit about things being done on time, they were just doing. And I was like, that's no good. We have to finish this thing so we can go on to the next thing. This is what we have to do. So I realized that the first problem was that no one wanted to do it. So I think part of your question is how do we get better producers? I think part of the answer is find people that want to manage. Everything Jennifer said is totally dead on. You've got to find that person that cares about people getting things done, giving them a task, making sure that they get that task done to a high level of quality, all that kind of stuff. But you can't find the person that wants to manage, you're fucked. Somebody's got to care. Just as much as somebody wants to code, just as much as somebody wants to draw art, just as much as somebody wants to design and get people excited about every little thing, somebody has to want to manage. If they don't, forget it.
Something I would also wish. Very good, yeah, drop the microphone. It also would really, really help if actual game developers understand how hard that job is and what you bring to it. Probably one of the darkest days I've had, is, solving really, really, really hard problems for a game team and never even getting a thank you or wow, that was really cool, thanks for doing that. Even though every day I was going around going, wow, that's really good art, or wow, that's a really cool piece of code, or wow, you really nailed that combat system. Nobody ever thanks the producer.
That's kind of the riddle, isn't it? If you're doing a really good job, you're almost
Yeah, by the way,
invisible.
Gordon,
Never mind.
never mind.
None of the credit.
Wham, motherfucker.
He's so grumpy.
So the first thing is, producership is a trap. Don't fall into it. Because you'll actually be useless mostly by the time you're done. And Jennifer hit a lot of good points. I think that my experience is most people on the team actually want to do great stuff. And about half of them know how to interact with other people who don't do what they do, and the other half don't. And that's always a challenge. So getting people to coordinate anything is hard. Getting creative people to coordinate anything is hard, cute. That's all part of the problem. The real production problem, in my view, is interfacing outside the team. Right? Because somebody funds you, and they really want it done on time, on target, and that never happens in games. Games are essentially impossible to ship. So every game that ships is a miracle, particularly, and as the number of people involved go up, the miracle level gets much higher than linearly. It gets higher more logarithmically to ship anything to more and more people. So getting that level of shared vision to actually get there, and then getting people to let go of it and let it go is really, really challenging. But if you're thinking about being a producer just because it pays more, it's a trap. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. You better like designing organizations more than you like designing games if you're going to play that role. So that has to be your metagame, the game that you're playing. If you're going to be a producer, and then God be with you and all that. You're probably screwed anyway.
You also have to be really comfortable being a marriage counselor too. Like
No.
Yes,
Treat them like
yes,
they're places
yes.
of marriage counselors.
Yes. I've done more marriage counseling, and I've also so when the guy had the schizophrenic break, they came to me.
Dude, I had that
You want to
same
tell that
thing.
story?
No, but Jennifer, you're like the poster child for producer in crisis. So you're scared. Your skin is just not thick enough. You have to let it roll off your back like water. You can't fucking fix them. That's the first lesson. You can't fucking.
Well, I know I can't fix them, but I'm still the one that has to call, the state agency to come take them away.
Wow.
Which I did, by the way. I'm not really making that up. The guy had a schizophrenic break, and I had to call the state agency.
Just think of it as a strike. It's just another strike on the uniform.
I was glad for the 10-second delay we've got on the stream. We got to see what it looked like. For the record, that was Ian Bullard, Jennifer's husband, who stood up, put his finger on his nose, and pointed at me while I was describing Jennifer. Is there any other questions? All right, Tess.
That was one question. I don't think that was a full question.
I have a fun question for you. Suppose you had a time machine and didn't have to worry about paradoxes at all, and you could go back in time and change something about the Austin game development scene in the past to change what it was like today. What would you choose to do with that?
Sheri's got it.
Think about that one. Well, start with yourself. You're part of it.
Kill Chris Roberts.
Oh my! I think he employs a whole lot of people in town now.
Just kidding, Chris.
Yeah. He's known for his sense of humor. This will be on YouTube later.
No, I got one. So this may be looking a little too deeply into my own mirror. I would definitely try to go back in time and find myself when I was managing Ultimate 8 and Origin, and I would tell myself to calm the fuck down. Would you please calm down? It'll be okay. It's just a freaking game. All right, yeah, that's what I would do.
It's almost like they work together. Actually, I did have a question I neglected earlier. Let's see here. Is
No, wait.
other questions?
We're gonna go back.
Okay. Hand up.
What would you do? What would you do? Come on. There's gotta be skill.
Okay. What year? What year are we talking about? In 1990, I would have talked my soon-to-be wife to going ahead and taking the job at Origin, so I would have been working there, making Mike's life miserable much earlier.
You probably would have fixed that. You probably would have fixed that shit.
Is it on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay. How many times have you guys crossed paths in the past of just working together in the Austin game industry at different studios? And I have another question, if you guys can squeeze it in, is tell the greatest story that you have as far as the game goes. I was told they're the best stories.
So what was the first question again?
How many times have you guys crossed paths?
Let's see, this is Mike. Mike and I's first time.
Never worked together.
Yeah. Billy and I have never worked together.
We've been on boards together, but that's it.
Yeah.
We go talk to people.
Sheri and I only got to work together, at Sony. And Kevin, I don't think we ever really got to work together.
Kevin fired me. Kevin totally fired me.
I did fire Mike and then fired myself right after that.
We didn't even sit down in the office. We just
No.
walked into the office and you're fired. Okay.
So, yeah.
Hope he didn't really want the job, Mike.
We knew it was coming.
No, Gordon, speaking of going back and changing everything, I still think I would have turned down the job Gordon offered me in 93.
93.
Was that 93? I worked for Gordon for 1 week. He hired me to do some consulting on some 3D thing.
It was that bad. 1 week.
1 week in Florida? Are you kidding me?
It was a tough job.
Yeah.
It was a problem.
Did we work together?
We all, I guess, sort of work together through High Five.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, we brought that in. I forgot about that. I Sheri and Mike, obviously. If I.
Nice to meet you. You're fired.
Yeah. I mean, I fired more
It
people.
was
Wait a
almost
second.
like that. Yeah, it was almost like that. You bought our company and then you got fired.
Monty did it against me. Well,
Yeah,
that's another story. We'll blame Monty. He's a good one. Okay. That's Monty Kerr.
Did you just say he was there? I was there.
You were.
And you got fired the same day. Yes. I think I
On the shorts. You gave me a beer, I think.
Nothing brings people in Austin together more than we got fired together. We were at the very end.
You haven't been fired in the game industry? I mean,
Well,
you haven't really.
that's right. Sure.
I worked with Billy, my Billy. So, I worked with. I'm
All right, so
sometimes that just happens in this industry.
now we tell stories.
All right, I'm going to tell a story. So,
Oh
I've
God.
got lots of them. Lots of really good stories. But since Shannon asked, like, great game dev story or great story, okay, I'll tell you. So for a year and a half, I tried to get a job at Origin. My roommate Steve Powers got a job at Origin by answering an article saying they were answering an ad in the Austin American Statesman saying they're looking for a video game artist. And I was like, holy crap, that's a job. So he went up there and he took all his it was for a designer job, I think it was, on Ultima 7 Part 2 Serpentine. So he had gone up there and he brought all of his work. He's like, oh, I'm going to go to be a video game artist. It's going to be awesome. Took all his work up there and he came home and he said, I said, did you get a job? He says, well, no, but yes. And I was like, what do you mean? He says, well, I got a game design job. And I was like, that's a fucking job? Are you kidding me? And he said, yeah, it's a job. I took all my D&D stuff and they loved everything they saw. And I was like, I have to have that job. I have to have that job. I have to have that job. So I spent a year and a half working my ass off to get that job. I applied every time there was a job. I went up and Steve was working crunch crazy hours. I would take him lunch, I would take him breakfast, I would take him dinner, I would go hang out with him, I would sit there, I would play Wing Commander, I'd play Ultima. Yeah, they know, because I was there. The whole Tim, you probably saw me there. They didn't even have a badge system at that point, so I would just walk into the place. Everybody thought I worked there. Steve's roommate actually was, he had started the Origin softball team, of which they had like 11 players, they needed 12, and so he was like, man, we're just one player short, and I just happened to be there for dinner. I was like,
Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play.
do I have to be an employee to play? He goes, nope, I'm in charge, and you don't. So I'm out there like a week later playing, catch with like Richard Garrett and Starr and freaking Warren and everybody else that was there at the time, and they all thought I was an employee. Which was awesome. Anyway, so yeah, I finally got the job. First day I got hired, they were bought by Electronic Arts. So showed up on day one, all of the insurance was better. I could have got some school coaches or whatever. So all the insurance was better. We had vision, we had dental, we had blah, blah, blah. So much more money, 401k, et cetera, et cetera. Who cared about that shit? They gave us the Sega Genesis a bunch of games, and we got to go out on a boat on Lake Travis, and they got us drunk all day, all night, sent us home in cabs. Epic. Best first date ever. That's my story for you, Shannon.
So basically, your imposter syndrome was never going to problem with you. You started off as one.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally snuck my way
So
there.
I was up at GDC, and I was been in a roundtable where they were talking about diversity, big surprise. And I was kind of a shill because I knew the gal who was running the roundtable, and she was using me to fill in if nobody talked. So she asked, what games did we know of that had good representation of race and gender? And nobody said anything, and I could just come up with Serpent Island, moved on to Arthurian Legends. That's another story. Yeah. And I said, well, Serpent Island, we used actual athletes as body models for the different characters. And then the conversation went on there so fine. So the rest of the day went by, and I was out on the floor, out on the expo floor, and a kid had been following me, and I was trying to figure out what he was following me for. He finally caught me, kind of cornered me between two booths, and he said, so you said something about Serpent Island. Did you work on Serpent Island? I said, yeah, I did. And he said, so what did you do? I said, well, I was on the early part of the design. I said, but the religion underneath it, the chaos plus order equals balance, is what I did a lot of work on. And he looked at me, he lowered his head, and he said, I based my life on that. He proceeds to talk to me, and I'm backing into the corner. And so we used to have a signal at Origin that if a fan cornered you, we would do this, which meant they're eating my skin. And Mike walks by, and I'm going, and he just kept walking. I finally got away from the kid, and for the rest of the entire conference, every time he saw me, he bowed to me. I'm not kidding. That's great.
That's why he fired you.
You were the Hierophant, or how you pronounce that.
Sorry.
So when we started Cinematronics, our first year was actually in Santa Cruz, in California. And the office space we had was at the end of the Pacific Garden Mall, and I don't know how many people know Santa Cruz, but this was still pretty much a really high crime area, looked like a bomb zone because of the Loma Prieta earthquake had been a few years before. So lots of collapsed buildings and things like that, and hence the cheap office space. But it was high crime, and all of our cars had been broken into at one point or another. And we had a habit, of course, of working very late. That's what game developers do. We were there, often until midnight or 1 in the morning. And one of my partners, Mike Sandage, we had separate offices, and he often would kind of crack his door. We were up on the second floor of this little building, just to let the cool air in. And he's sitting there working away, and he hears this blood-curdling scream, just like someone's being stabbed. And he kind of like, what in the world did I, what? And he's looking around outside, and and a minute goes by, and then he hears it again. And he's like, oh God, and he comes running down the hall to my office, and he says, did you hear that? Did you hear that scream? And I said, you mean this one? I still don't know where the sound guy got those screams, but.
So one of the first studio, not the first studio. Well, the first studio actually had a real office that I helped found. Compulsive Development, who that boy right there was a member of. So we rented after our first really shitty office space down on 5th Street that would flood every time it rained. If you rent office space, smell it when you walk in. If it smells funky, just anyway. So we went upscale when we got some money. And we rented 2130 South Congress, which is that place like on Congress and I guess, what is it, Live Oak. It was the old movie theater, right? Like the old 1920s movie theater. That was awesome. Well, they played different movies in the 1970s. We didn't know this. So, we thought it was really cool. We get the movie theater. We actually bought extra letters for the marquee. So, and by the way, those letters are still my letters because I bought those things. But we were in there for a while, and then this guy would come up to the door And he was kind of an older gentleman, and he was dressed in a raincoat, and he would knock on the front door, and somebody would typically open the door. I was always too terrified. It was probably Colin that opened the door. He's like, "Hey, can I help you?" And he's like, "Hey, you guys still show movies in here?" "No, we don't show movies in here. Please leave. Oh God."
So stories. I mean, most of my stories are either about survival from desperate situations, barely, with skin missing, or epic stupidity that no one would believe if I told them. Epic stupidity, yes.
Epic stupidity.
But I think, the story I would tell is, when I was younger, you wouldn't know it today, but I was actually quite introverted and like a programmer. That's what I used to do once upon a time. And in 1984, my partner and I, we've been working on games in our spare time while we had a consulting business, and I decided we need to go to California and find a publisher for, to do games with. So I packed up my Lisa, put it in the overhead compartment. Yeah, Lisa. Because you did Mac development on Lisa set. Yeah, there wasn't a Mac development for Mac, there was only Lisa development. And flew to California and literally went around and knocked on doors of every publisher known to man. Like, literally show up at 9 in the morning and you knock on the door and you go, "Hey, I'm interested in doing a game with you guys. Can I talk to somebody?" And that was kind of a big deal. I thought, I was so desperate to make games that I would actually go do that, which was kind of weird at the time. So that was kind of fun. That's a fun story. It doesn't have as many missing body parts or, things that are completely unbelievable to a rational person.
All right, well, Ralph's got his hand up, so I'll make my way over there.
It's not a separate question, I just wanted you to follow up. Like, what kind of response did you get? Because that's more or less incomprehensible these days.
I'm curious too.
Well, you got to remember, this is pre-internet, pre-fax, pre-everything, really. So the only way to do it would either be mail them a letter or show up. And I thought that showing up might work better. And in fact, I guess there were about 9 major publishers then, I definitely got in to see at least 7 of them. Because I showed up, right? It's not like today where if you showed up at a publisher, there's a card key and they'll arrest you or whatever. But then, how were they going to get content, right? They either had to make it themselves or somebody had to show up with it to get it done. So, it's a completely different time and place than today. So, yeah, but it was a little bit strange. My sister lived on Pine Street in downtown San Francisco in this closet, I thought. It's the smallest apartment I'd ever seen. And I stayed with her and just, took the rent car and drove from place to place every day for a week. Until I, got to see everybody I wanted to see or got definitely locked out of the building of everybody I wanted to see.
Did you actually get a deal from that?
I got 2, actually, out of that. And over time, got 3 or 4 more from those initial meetings.
Any more questions here tonight?
I got more.
Yeah. We'll give Alan one more and then we'll see about Randall's.
So I have 2 quick ones. One is, you guys talked a little bit about this, but the changing demographic of our players from when you guys started when it is now. And also, quick thing, how many jobs have you had in your entire lifespan of the industry?
It's very possible they've lost track. It's not like you count these things. No. You can look them up on Moby Games. I got their
How
link.
many jobs you had? Okay, so.
How many jobs or how many game codes?
Yeah.
How many projects?
How many business cards do you have? Okay, so how many companies did you work with? Let's do that. Or company-like thing. Company-like thing.
How many games have you shipped?
Yeah, how many?
That's a different question.
Yeah.
Okay, companies you work for. Okay. Something like 9. I'll give 9. Y'all notice like Gordon's not counting.
Billy worked on a SpongeBob SquarePants
No, if you work
game.
for the same company
Yeah.
twice, that counts as 2. What if you work
Yeah. Leave and come back, does that count?
Your company gets bought, does that count as 2? Seems like it should. No, that doesn't count. No, your company gets. Yeah, because that would give me 2 more.
See, he's just getting a good reaction no matter what.
So now you start
Does the U.S. Navy count?
12 game
No,
counts.
it's a client you were consulting. That's the consulting company.
It actually sounds low for you, Gordon.
I think.
Well, I do pride myself on not being able to hold a steady job.
Yeah, still, 12 over however many years.
But I did have, 2 long stints. I had my own company for 5 years, and I did Bioware for almost 7.
Right.
So that kind of skewed the average.
All right.
10. No, yeah, 10. 9. I'll give it 9.
So 10's about the average then.
Yes, well, you figure this average here, usually they're 3 to 5 years is kind of unusual, so that makes sense for how many years we're in the industry.
Yep. Which is about the length of a project time, somewhere between 2 and 3 years. Most projects, or most companies don't survive their first project. Great expectations, but it doesn't really work. So.
Can we answer them real quick? What was the other question? Well, yeah, the changing diversity, like when you guys started players were different than players now.
Oh Lord, we're talking about players now.
So the question was, what's different?
At the beginning, it was all young dudes. Now it's not. It's one of the coolest things that I've ever had, one of the coolest sort of like game player experiences I've ever had was my mom, my 73-year-old mother, kicking my ass at Wii Bowling. You should have heard her twittering laughter as she destroyed me. Best game experience I've ever had. Just Twitter, she's a sweet little lady, and she just, I'm killing you.
At bowling. Did we turn it off?
So I think the players were always there. We just never did anything for them. And that's the only difference. So games have been around 5,000 years, 10,000 years. I mean, it's not like that's new. We've just, thought about it from just the digital landscape and thought, oh, this is this narrow segment, right here. But in reality, even before that, in more recent times, you've got Scrabble, you've got chess and Go, you've got all kinds of social games, board games. I think everybody's been playing games. We just didn't have an offering in the digital market.
Hit him a good one, Randall.
All right. Oh, just one question. I got a whole.
This question has 17 parts.
Yes.
This one, Troy. Essay.
All right, man. If you guys were in a band, what position would you play, man?
All right. So. Drummer.
He's the one who's been fired the most.
So you're the lead guitarist.
Well done.
Gordon's the band manager. Just kidding, keep going down this one. Okay. All right, so this is somewhat of a pandering question. So whether it's teams not doing what they need to be doing, change of technology, frustrating trends for 2015, I'll ask a pandering question. What in the industry are you most grumpy about?
Well, I did make it part of the title. I just thought it was a cool title that'd be funny. So.
All right, so until someone grabs the microphone and attempts to take the floor from me, I'm going to go over some things that happened back in the day. We didn't used to have DirectX. Okay, we had to make all of our own shit. We had to make sound drivers, video drivers. If we wanted video to work, we had to make a compression system.
We didn't have Lua. We had to do that too.
We didn't have scripting systems. We didn't have Unity. We didn't have Unreal. If you wanted to put a polygon on screen, good luck. We had sprites back in the old days with sprites on top of them. When we had 3D, we had to make our own 3D systems and tools. We had a program, oh God, what was it called? Eeyore, for crying out loud. It was built so you could build 3D objects inside of your games.
And Billy, we didn't have artists who had ever done it before either. When we went to 3D, you
That's
remember
right.
part of the transition?
We went from guys that could draw on paper to guys that could draw in D-Paint, which was 15 colors plus one that was transparent, or blah blah blah. Then we had D-Paint Animator, where you actually could animate those kind of things. And I think the thing that drives me, go ahead. Oh my God, when D-Paint animated, holy shit. And then we had this other program called Animator Pro, which would take multiple images and then build a 15 plus 1 transparent color out of those images. So that you could, I know this is a joke, right? To you guys, it's crazy. It's like, no, that's what we had to deal with. I mean, a lot of these guys worked on PC games. I worked on Super Nintendo and Genesis games where you had to have cells that were 8x8 with 16 colors, one transparent. Everything had to work. And you loaded your map and you had 256 cells that had 15 colors with one transparent. This is a big joke. The crap that we had to go through. You guys have GIMP that's free with 1 million colors and 1 million layers and 1 million everything. You guys have it so freaking easy. Okay, this is my complaint. You guys have it so freaking easy. You have tools, you have free distribution. We had to either make our distribution ourselves, we had to do our own boxes, do our own cost of goods, all that kind of jazz, or we had to marry some publisher that would deal distribution, they own distribution. If you were going to work on a Super Nintendo title, you had to pay for everything in cash. All of your copies were $25 a copy, you had to pay it in cash. When that check cashed, then they would print it. They would do this stuff. The things that we had to jump through, the hoops we had to go through were crazy. I could have done it by myself. And then of course, you wanted to do any of these newer systems, you want to do PlayStation 1, 2, 3, whatever. You couldn't buy those machines to work on. Even on our SNES, we did not buy those machines. We were leasing those machines. You lease these machines. Are you kidding me? And you can't get a lease unless you have millions and millions of dollars in revenue and you have distribution and you know it's going to work.
You had to put it back in the original packaging. If you didn't have the original packaging, you bought it, and those were $20,000 each.
What Jennifer said, if you're not hearing us on the internet, is that we had to keep the packaging. And we're talking about the foam core stuff, everything. If it didn't go back in the box, we got charged.
Yep.
20K. 20K. I remember, leasing all the PlayStation 2 games and all the PlayStation machines. We had to buy an in-circuit emulator because there was one problem on our damn SNES game that we couldn't figure out. We had to lease that thing, and then, God, it was just a disaster. Oh, you couldn't move them off the machines. Yeah, and there were dongles, and there was this, and there was that, and nobody had, you couldn't plug a freaking joystick into your shit. The machines weren't networked, they didn't have email, we didn't know what the internet...
Billy?
Sorry.
What was the question again?
What are you grumpy about? I think he answered that.
I'm pretty clear on him.
He didn't even get to source control.
What the fuck is this?
Hold on, I gotta go. Okay, so when I got my job, Origin Systems did not have a network when I was there. Sneakernet. Yeah. So all right. So these days, when you want to check out a piece of source code, you go up to whatever little thing it is you Mercurial or Get or Purports or whatever the hell it is you want, and you go, I want this, and then it gives it to you, and then you can work on it, and you can check it in. Right? Here's how we did it in the old days. We had a sticker. And I went to a machine and I said, I need this file. And I grabbed the file and I put the name of the file on the thing that I was working on and I put it on the machine. And that meant that I had control of this file. And sometimes you would check out a whole thing of files like the levels. Right? So you would be the flame of the levels or the flame of the conversations or the flame of whatever the hell it was. Yeah. So this is how we did it. So so Sneakernet, you walked around with a disk, and you physically carried the disk of the file that you were working on.
What's a disk?
What kind of disk?
It was a
floppy disk.
5.25-inch floppy disk, which was 5 1/4.
Wow.
And it held how much trivia?
Arcade, isn't it?
Oh, no. This was the new 5 1/4, so they hold 1.44 megabytes. The original ones hold 760K.
Yeah, I got that. I got it right.
You did, yeah. Was
It's a floppy, not a stiffy.
I will bend to my senior member.
Okay, so you were asking actually kind of what we're grumpy about now, right?
I think now.
Yeah. Here's what I'm grumpy about.
Still mad about that shit.
We're just ripping the scabs off tonight.
I want the 40-meg hard drive.
Unearthing some hard pains.
As the writers, what machines did you have? We got the 386s. Yeah.
We're lucky.
Yeah.
With a boost button. It had a boost button.
Oh, wow.
The programmers had 486s and boy, were you jealous.
The artist got all that extra memory.
That's right.
But on the hard drive, you draw the hard.
386.
I don't think I can follow that.
What are you mad about? What are you grumpy about now?
Yeah, what am I grumpy about now? Here's what I'm grumpy about now. I think that if you look back at what's been going on with technology in general for the last, say, 15, even maybe 20 years, and you look at kind of all the innovations that have gone on in the space, across all technology, not just games, what you've seen is this tremendous amount of what is essentially friction reduction. We've reduced all the difficult barriers between the consumer and the creator, and done a fantastic job. I mean, it's amazing what we have to work with now, and I think it's wonderful. I mean, it's awesome, but if you look at the companies that have been making games for the last 15 years, mostly what they've done is they've come along, and from a business standpoint, it makes perfect sense, they've said, hey, you know what? Why would I make something original or fresh or new or engaging or any of that when I've got a new business model to apply? I can do one of these friction-reducing things and make money with a safe product from before. Why take a risk in two areas? I'm just going to do that. And that is all we have done for 15 years for the most part, right? You look at what's gone on with social media, you look at what's gone on with the tools, you look at everything, new platforms that have become much more accessible. All this is fantastic for our industry, but it also means we've had 15 years of people not solving the other piece, which is that, look, if you want a consumer, you've got to drop the friction and you've got to increase the engagement. And if engagement's not higher than friction, you don't have a customer. Well, what's happening is everybody knows the friction part now. We all know how that works. We all get it. And now we're going to see a lot fiercer competition for, keeping consumers around. Right? The idea that people like long-term engagement is 90 days, are you kidding me? Right? That's ridiculous. So what's happened now? So 15 years, what I'm grumpy about is that we now have a whole generation of developers, designers, everybody that's come of age in that period, and they don't know what engagement is anymore. They don't have a clue. That's what I'm grumpy about.
And to that, I'm grumpy about the fact that designers really aren't so much designers anymore as part of business development in charge of the revenue. We're really, as a designer, you're in charge of making sure that the revenue is hit every single time and fixing the design. And if something goes wrong, it's the designer's fault. So we're actually a part of biz dev more than we actually are development, and it's all metric driven, which means we can't. So the ability to make deep content that you may have to play for a little while to find the story and to really get into depths of it doesn't happen anymore because it has to be quick, fast, keep making money, and you're judged on how well you hit the metrics and how much money it makes every single week practically. That makes me really happy.
You start off with biz dev and you wind up in marketing.
Yeah.
Just constantly adding new.
So we used to make games for everybody that played them, right? If you went to the store and you bought a game and you installed it on your computer and you played it, that's who we made it for. We made that for that person. Right now, we're working in the mobile space, right? Mobile social space. And we're making the game, we're designing the game specifically for that slice of 1% of the person that will pay for however we decide to monetize it. So I'm not designing, the game that I'm putting out isn't for 100% of the people that actually experience it. I'm designing it and tuning it and honing it for that tiny slice of a whale who's going to come in and try to make money for me. That's what I'm grumpy about.
I'm not grumpy at all. Don't worry, I'll reverse myself before I finish. But, we are in the biggest opportunity space that gaming's ever had. Period. Amen. You know, we've got more opportunities to make entertainment for more people than I would have dreamed of 10 years ago, much less 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Right? So we are in a place and in a time, and we're more enabled to do it than ever before. The tools are there that to leverage your desire to create are so fabulous, so much more powerful. So the only thing that stands between us and that might be the thing I'm grumpy about. And I'm grumpy about two things in the big scheme of things. I'm grumpy about developers who are egocentric and not customer focused. That's one, right? Where you're more about, you know, look at me and look at how cool I am and yada, 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 rather than thinking about who the customer is and trying to really rock their world. Not talk about rocking their world, actually rocking their world. A lot of people talk the talk and very few people walk that walk. So that I'm a little bit grumpy about because we have a lot of developers now. You know, we have a huge population of them. When you look US-wide, we're probably in the realm of 100,000 people who make games professionally, and another probably somewhere between 5 and 10x that make them casually, you know, make them non-professionally, not really for money. So we've got plenty of talent working on this, and that's all new too. Suddenly we have this giant pool. We should be getting some pretty cool stuff out of that giant pool. So I'm a little grumpy though about the fact that people aren't serious about their craft to the point that they want to make it work, right? If you're serious about your craft and so if you're a real artiste, it's fine for you to starve and just do stuff that you think is cool, and maybe when you're dead, somebody else will think it's cool. Right? That's the starving artist thing, right? Oh yeah, you know, go cut your ear off or something, right? But, you know, in a drunken brawl. But, you know, and that's cool if that's what you want to do. But if you can't be on the other side going, oh, I'm a real artist and I also am commercial, and not play commercial. So I'm grumpy about people who, you know, kind of dive under the art cover some of the time and then complain that they don't get paid enough, right? So you be serious about what you want to do with your craft, and look at the whole craft, not just at the little piece that you do, but look at the context of the whole thing. You know, so the thing about, oh, well, you know, oh my God, the designers might have to be responsible for monetization. Well, somebody the fuck has to be. Somebody has to be responsible for making it work, or you're just saying, I'm going to throw spaghetti against that wall until a piece sticks. And then you shouldn't be complaining about having to do 100 pieces of spaghetti to get there. Right? Go ahead, throw some spaghetti. I know I've run into two people who are making games like spaghetti and throwing them against the wall, waiting for one of them to stick. Two teams in the last month, who that's their strategy. And I'm going, okay, it's a strategy. It might actually work better than some of these things where you put in all this time and money. So I just think, you know, as developers across the board, you got to think about, are you serious about the craft, or are you posing about the craft? And if you're serious about the craft, you need to think about the whole craft, not your little piece of it, and figure out how am I going to be successful at it. So there's my grump. I probably have another one that I can pick up if I really work at it. Once enough.
It actually seems like a pretty good place to stop for the night. Does anyone else have any other questions that could really top that one? If not, I've got something I just want to point out. First of all, go ahead and applaud for the panel. These guys are great. Here's the best part about it is all I had to do was ask them and tell them when it was going to happen, and they all said yes. And I even called them grumpy and old, and they still stayed here. And basically asking everyone's questions that were funny and entertaining, and everyone really got something from it. I mean, who's walking out of here with something they learned? Yeah, basically everyone. So everyone who's watching at home and everyone who's going to watch it on YouTube is going to get something out of this. We're just going to give it out for free. And again, that's something that we can do in Austin. You can't do that everywhere. You don't get people that know, one, anything about what they're talking about, and two, are willing to share that to anyone. Because again, one part of being old is you get wisdom that only comes from time and experience.
Says the young guy.
Well, I'm not that much younger than you. I just had a whole other career, but anyway. In any case, one thing you do learn is you have to give some stuff away. You can't just sell everything. And in fact, if you don't give it away, there are going to be people who are going to be in hock for something useless that masquerades as real information and knowledge that won't get you anything. Sometimes the best knowledge and the best insight is given away for free. So I want everyone to think about this logo that we got here in the panels here. If you didn't know, this chapter actually exists and has had some leadership over the period of time. And Jennifer Bullard, who's actually taken up quite a bit of time on our tape, you know, she could have been on this panel. I just didn't ask her for it because she like moderates these herself. She's actually wanting to step down as chair of IGDA-Austin. She's been doing it for 4 years, which is twice as long as anyone should want to do it. And actually kind of closer to 4 times as long. The thing about this show is I really like doing this kind of stuff, but I'm not getting paid for it. None of these guys are getting paid for it, although I did buy them a round of drinks. None of them take on of it. But I don't want to do this unless there is some leadership to this thing that makes no one any money. That's something I want everyone to be thinking about. Don't take that for granted and think that it'll happen all the time. And don't think that this happens without people actually doing it, because it won't happen. Even though now there's all kinds of meetups, people on the north side and south side of town, and they're all just doing it on their own. But think about if you didn't know anything about Austin, if you're coming in straight off the truck, and you want to find out what's going on in the game dev space. Is it important to you that that person knows something about something, that they're not just, you know, babe in the wilderness? Because it could happen like that. There are places there's game dev where no one gets any help and no one is pointed in any direction. Some people don't even know all the game developers that exist in town. In fact, it's harder and harder to keep track of them all. When like everyone was either working for Origin or Acclaim, it was pretty easy to pin down everyone. That's not the case anymore. You know, we got a whole bunch of people that, in many ways, it's kind of come full circle to what it was 30 years ago. You know, a couple dudes making an Apple IIe game are making an iPhone game now. There's probably just as much risk about it, and a lot of the control is in their hands. But wouldn't it be better if they knew someone else who was doing the same thing where they were? Wouldn't it be great if it actually mattered that you were in Austin as opposed to somewhere else? Because in fact, as time has progressed and we are now in a place in history where you could potentially make a video game almost anywhere, so long as you had access to a computer and maybe the internet. These are the things I would rather people be thinking about rather than take for granted. Not to say that everyone does, but understand this is the kind of stuff that I would like to see continuing, even if I'm not the one doing it. Please think about it, and thank you for coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Henderson. He does this, so you don't have to.
All right, everyone pay your tabs, tip your bartenders, and drive safe home tonight. As long as you want to carry, we're not actually being kicked out or anything, so enjoy yourselves.